We need some good advice about phishing. Patrick, can you help us out?
Yep. Start protect yourself from smishing.
Protect yourself from phishing. Some good advice. All right. Nick, do the opposite. Give me some bad advice on how to deal with phishing.
Enter your credentials.
Just enter them anywhere. Publish them, maybe even. All right. Patrick, give me some worse advice on how to deal with phishing.
Download or click on that file.
Just click on that file, whatever that file may be.
Whatever that file comes in.
Let's start this.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
All right, everybody. It is Super Cyber Friday. Welcome. Today's topic is hacking phishing, an hour of critical thinking about how malicious attackers weaken trusted forms of communications. We're going to talk a lot about that element of what actually is a trusted form of communications and does it even exist. All right, our guest today, you just saw him. It's Nick Ryan. He's the CISO over at Baker Tilly, which just happens to be where I am right this second. I'm in Baker Tilly's offices. I actually use Baker Tilly's services as well. And Patrick Harr, he's the CEO of SlashNext. He's the other gentleman joining us today. And you know what? SlashNext, they're our sponsor for today. We're so thrilled to have SlashNext sponsoring. Thank you so much. Lots of ways to participate. Oh, look at one of them is actually covered up, but you can join our chat room. You can submit how not to respond to a phishing attempt. That's our bad idea. Submit tips to reduce the impact from phishing. That's our better, 10% better. Vote in the polls. You can say, bring me on at any time if you got a question or comment, ask a question, or even vote for your favorite question. That's the number 7 you can't see there. All right. Here's our schedule. We did our cold open. Give us your bad ideas, your good ideas. Again, remember the bad idea is how not to respond to a phishing attempt. We'll play the public interest. We'll vote on how not to respond to a phishing attempt. We'll play that totally sucks. Then you'll vote for your favorite tip to reduce a phishing impact. Then we'll play department yes, last question, final advice, and then we will do our meetup. Our next show, which is a week from today, is going to be Hacking the CSO Series. That is going to be our 4th anniversary show. And guess what? There's a link at the bottom of the screen where you could register for that. And you can click on that at any time during the show and register for the event. It will not take you out of this chat. That is the key thing to know. Please join us for that. It's going to be super fun. We're going to have 15 guests, all the hosts, the reporters, the editors, and the producers. They will be there. And you register early. If you do that by next Tuesday, you're entered in to win a CISO Series jacket. And congrats to this week's winner, Imani Malika Mehta of SOTV. She is this week's winner. All right. Let's get to our discussion at hand. Whoops, I'm on the wrong page. All right. Let's start with the very first question that I have for you gentlemen. Oh, by the way, get us your questions as well as quickly as possible. So I'll start with you, Patrick. We talk about dealing with phishing from, I think, two, and I'm going to be hyper simplistic here, but I think this is the way to introduce it, is we have two angles we look at it. We talk endlessly about training our users, security awareness, giving them phishing tests. And then we talk about putting in technical controls or also using artificial intelligence to see if this phishing. Explain to me, is this the right balance? When does the balance go out of whack? What is desperately needed that is sort of causing this problem just to keep happening again and again and then again?
Yeah, so I kind of call it the 3 Ps: people, process, and product. And I think most often people focus on the process, the people in the process, meaning the training, as you just highlighted. It's just empirically proven if you just rely on training alone, you're going to get phished. We've seen this with Uber. We've seen this with the recent Twilio attack and Cisco attack through personal Gmail. So I think bottom line, that's where the AI controls come in play, and you must put those in place to really protect yourself. I think the second thing is make sure it's not just an email-born view of the world. Mm-hmm. You need to look at wherever I can message you. So if I mentioned LinkedIn, I mentioned SMS, anywhere I can message you, you have to protect yourself. And again, not just with training, but with those technical controls.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to get very much into today. And I'll throw this to you, Nick, in that, we have fooled ourselves into believing that this is only an email problem. And it is because that would be true if we were all only on email, but we are not. And also, most people are trying to shift away from email. I'm assuming you are as well. Yes,
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah. I mean, the world of Teams, the world of, doing everything in one unified platform versus just email, that's where everybody's going. And you're right. I mean, the vectors are no longer just email, right? I mean, I just had last week, several people reach out saying, "Hey, I have received a text message from our CEO asking me to go and get some, gift cards." And, of course, they're just coming from every angle. We have voicemails coming in now. We have all kinds of other avenues, not just email.
Okay, good point. Again, reminder to everybody, please get your questions in as well about phishing. So, Patrick, and I know we're going to get into this in greater detail because SlashNext deals with this in the respect that you deal with phishing on all essentially communications platforms. I'm interested to know after email, and I'm going to just assume, correct me if I'm wrong, that email is the worst vector. What's number 2 after email?
Yes. So about 50% of the attacks we see come through email. And that was a pretty significant increase this year, about a 30% increase. The other half come outside of email. This, I would say the most attacked, Nick just mentioned, is SMS right now.
Right.
You can probably correlate that also to WhatsApp. There's obviously a text message component there. But that's that second most trusted or communication vehicle that people are using on a daily basis, and therefore they're obviously going and attacking you there.
So if you don't have, because I in general, and again, I know this is what SlashNext does. If you only have the awareness and the technical controls in email, but you don't have the awareness, or you don't have the awareness can go across all communications platform. But if you don't have the technical controls and everything but email, you're literally just missing 50% of the problem for technical controls. I mean, simple as that.
100%. Okay. You're very well exposed, as we've seen, as I just highlighted some of those recent attacks. The Uber break-in was through an SMS, Twilio through an SMS. Yeah. Then you have the Cisco side where the employee it was a personal Gmail that exploited, that was a phish through personal Gmail. Bottom line, again, as I highlighted, it's really anywhere I can message you. And then you can stack rank those. You can look at SMS. I'd put LinkedIn, where obviously everyone uses LinkedIn as another vector. Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp again. And then obviously Nick highlighted Teams and Zoom and chat. Anywhere I can message you is where they're coming in.
Yeah, and one other thing to add to that too, I mean, just by the nature of it, training is always one step behind, right? So you have people that are, looking for hyperlinks, looking for files, the attachments. But then nowadays, as Patrick, I'm sure sees every single day, there are messages coming in that don't have the standard, oh, the link looks weird, or gosh, there's a file attachment I don't understand, right? My name's not misspelled. I mean, they're getting smarter and smarter with the attack. So, it's the training alone is not enough.
And if you think about, I was just going to add one quick thing here. If you think about all that training, it used to be look for joebadguy.com. Very easy to discern that domain. There's one other really dangerous thing is that these bad actors are deep in trusted domains now. So google.com //// that's where the attack is. So you can't just train a user, say, look at this domain, trust it, because they're going to trust Google. They're going to trust Microsoft. They're going to trust SharePoint. So that's, again, they've gotten very wise, not only where they're coming from in any message, but how they're doing it.
But I think we have to, because I mentioned at the beginning, the whole concept of the trusted domain, the attackers are betting on us believing that. And what are you doing, Nick, I guess, within your environment? Because people, I mean, that's an unnerving thing from an employee to know that if I'm on Microsoft Teams, that's still not a trusted environment. I'm like, but I thought this is a closed environment. I thought, I can trust it. Like, where do you sort of explain to them like nothing can be trusted, even though we're creating a protected environment? Like, how does that get communicated, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to communicate, right? Because, I mean, especially at scale, once you have, we have 7,000, 7,200 people. And I mean, just at that size, it's hard to, make sure that everybody's just paying attention to the training as it is, right? But, ultimately, I think what we're trying to shift more to is focusing on behavior, right? So instead of trying to find out the markers for why this is, a phish, try to break it down to say, why am I getting this email? This is, doesn't make any sense. This isn't normal. I have never heard of this person before. Or, gosh, they only, send me an email on Mondays. I'm getting one on Wednesday, right? Like, spend more time focusing on the behavior, the heuristics on the user side. that's one way that we're trying to, solve the issue.
Yeah. And by the way, Larry Rosen actually makes a good point. Bad guys have no morals, while most security awareness programs have lines they won't cross. Of which, by the way, we have all the stories of like the story of why am I blanking? GoDaddy, where they sent out that obnoxious phishing email that said something about like your salary raise, and X% fell for it, but they were like. It was kind of tone deaf, but at the same time, the argument is, well, that's what the attackers are going to do. And then there's like, well, there's better ways to do it rather than losing the trust in your audience. Nick, I wonder what you think about that kind of behavior of a company, of the company tricking in the sort of a way that the employees are going to get pissed with you. Do you agree with that technique, or you're like, no, there's a better way of going about this?
Yeah, there's a fine line there, right? Because I've heard it before, right? Where people say, especially when you try to ramp up the frequency of your phishing assessments, people will say, you're trying to trick our employees. You're trying to trick them into failing, which, is kind of the wrong way to look at it. And that there is a point though, too, right? Where how much is too much? And also how close are you making this to, a real specific attack that is actually actually possible, right? So for example, there were some that we've done that were, surrounding an HR complaint, right? Now that hit a lot of people a little too close to home, and we heard a lot more about it. People were super pissed, right? Because it said something like, there's been a new harassment claim filed against you, click here to type in your side of the story, essentially, right?
Oh,
and
wow. That's a doozy.
Very, very upset people that even though it was, we were trying to mimic, an actual attack, it was just kind of across the line. So you're trying to find that balance of, this is meaningful. People are actually paying attention. And, oh, by the way, they're actually measurably better at this. That's what you're really trying to find. So yeah, it's a balance you have to strike, because you can't do it so infrequent that, when people get it, you have a giant population failing. But you can't do it too much to where it's, once a week or once every month.
All right. Before we go to our next statement, I want to talk about the issue of the cross-platform, because, Patrick, as you mentioned, there's 50% of it is happening off of email. The idea of getting a solution for every damn platform seems impossible. And I know this is where I want you to kind of speak a little bit of what /next does. It's like, well, I can't get a solution for specifically SMS. I can't get a solution specifically for WhatsApp. I can't get also a solution for Microsoft Teams and for Slack and God knows, what else here. How do you address this issue where I don't need a solution for every single darn platform, and also the 12 that you don't know or that are going to pop up tomorrow?
Yeah, Hunter, it's a great question. So obviously email is pretty easy. You just go directly through the API, which is what we do, and block 3 forms of attack, whether it be a link-based, whether it be a natural language-based. This is, hey, send this PO here. I've got some trust, or what's commonly called business email compromise, or third can be more file-based. So email is easy. You go directly through the API. You set it up. You have easy protection. On the other communication channels, if you think about where I look at those communication channels, it's either in the browser or I'm on my mobile phone. So what we have is a browser plugin. And so anywhere that whether you're in LinkedIn Messenger, whether you're in Facebook Messenger, your WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, even if they have proprietary encryption techniques, almost all of these do. And then there's TLS 1.3. For those out there, the layer 7 folks, you want to be in the browser. You want to see these effectively exactly what the user sees. By doing so, we can protect all communication channels, all messaging channels, again, against those 3 forms of attack. And then on the mobile phone, same thing. If I'm in the Twitter app, if I am in the Facebook Messenger app, I am in the Zoom or the chat bot, or even in SMS as we talked. We have basically an app that runs on the mobile phone and iOS and Android. It stops any form of attack, again, wherever you click. And then in SMS, this is kind of the more dangerous type of attack. Call Nick or call the IT department at Baker Tilly immediately, or because your account got compromised. That's a natural language attack. That's the type of things we detect and block. One final thing I just wanted to add. We do what's called live reinforced training. We were just talking about training.
Right.
Big believer in security awareness training, but you cannot rely on that alone. What you want to do is augment that training as well with AI. So once you block it, put up a training page that says, listen, this bad actor is trying to attempt to steal your credentials. What you'll see is a dramatic statistical reduction in the click-through rates and the participation in these phishing attempts.
Good point. All right, let's get to our next game.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
All right. Here's an audience favorite game. This is easy to play. Essentially, I will give you two. Well, you'll see in just a second. Let's just play it. What most average monthly search queries for the word phishing with a PH or phishing with an F? What gets more searches? PH phishing or F phishing? What do you guys think?
Got to be F phishing.
What do you think?
I gotta go B.
Okay, both selecting F phishing. All right, and the correct answer is F phishing. Yes, more than 2-1 on that. Very good. Oh, a lot of people thought it was PH phishing. No, not good. All right. Now, smishing or vishing? What do you think gets more, smishing or vishing?
I'm going C.
Smishing?
Yeah, smishing. Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Smishing. No, and this was a shock to me. Vishing actually does a little bit better. All right, so you each got, you're both 1 and 1, and it looks like everyone got a few. Benjamin actually got vishing correct. All right, so only one correct, one wrong for both of you. All right, what gets more, account takeover or stolen password? What do you think gets more searches?
Stolen password.
I'm going stolen password. F.
All right. And the correct answer is?
Oh, wow.
Look at that account takeover.
Way
more.
Doing well here.
Well, you're both doing equally poorly.
Yeah, that was my other choice. Dang it.
All right, here we go. Last one. What gets more searches, security awareness or security protection?
Security awareness.
All right, Nick goes security awareness. What are you doing?
I'm going to go H.
H, you're saying security protection, and
yep.
Nick wins
There
security awareness. All right. Good job, Nick, on that one. That was actually, you only got one correct, and Nick got two. What's that someone do?
It's Friday.
All right. Well, this plays, I will just say this plays into our next game that we're going to, that we'll play the, That Totally Sucks. But let's get to some of our questions. Oh, a bunch of questions have just come in from our audience. So actually, Valerie asks a very good question. I'm going to throw this to you, Nick. If you do everything on a virtual machine, are phishing emails still as dangerous to click on?
Absolutely, because it's credentials they could get. I mean, there's so much.
So
more
it's not about files. It's about stealing credentials.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Credentials. That's the easy one. But also, you're giving information about the IP address, the network. There's different information you can get from that. So, yeah, there's a lot more than just even if the environment is protected, there's still value to be had from the attacker's perspective.
And one of the things that I've also noticed about, because we talked about SMS and a lot of things that are happening just on the phone, one of the reasons that I have heard of and seen that the reason attacks on the phone are more effective is that the phone doesn't show you as much information to be telltale signs that this may be a phish. How are you, both of you sort of advising on how to be more aware on mobile phone versus on desktop? Patrick?
Well, I think number one, this thing has a much smaller attack surface, as they say. So it's much easier actually to compromise here than it is even on your laptop. And you, as an example, you could look at pixelations of screens, different type of things that might be on that particular attack page. And so in this context, again, I'm a big believer, as we were just talking about before, putting AI controls in place, meaning you actually want something that's assisting that user. Don't just rely on training. So as that message coming in, we'll pick SMS again. I mentioned that case. Call Baker Tilly immediately because your account got compromised. Right? That's something that scares people. Or Nick just highlighted one thing before. This always happens when a new person joins a company. They'll get a text from a CEO. And actually, they've gotten wise. That text will look like it comes from that exact location that the company's based. So they've already created some trust. So if you're distracted, which we all are, you're apt to actually click on that thing, or actually even worse, pick up a phone and call. right? And once they get you on the phone, you're dead, effectively. And so I think in this context, you really want to augment with some, again, artificial intelligence that's looking at the behavior of that attack. And that gives you a much better opportunity.
Let me get into the AI thing for a second. One of the things that we notice about attackers is they just keep getting smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. So obviously your AI is sort of changing over time to adapt with that. What have you noticed? And this is, I think, of great interest to our audience because they're always wanting to know what's the latest and greatest, or latest and most sort of insidious, I would say, in this case. Oh, and by the way, 20 minutes past, I just want to point out that our poll is live for the best bad ideas. So please, everybody vote for the poll. Bad idea. By the way, if you haven't clicked on next week's event, please do that too. All right. Back to my question to you, Patrick, though. What are things that you've noticed either the AI is training for or new behaviors that you're seeing in attacks that you're like, oh, we need to adapt for this? Like within the past, I don't know, 6 months, what has changed drastically, you think?
So number one, I did mention something, and this has rapidly changed, is the use of legitimate services, right? Because right. This is very important. And this reason why I'll tell you, most tools out there, they're designed to stop phishing. They rely on trusted domains. So by that definition alone, a lot of this stuff's going to get through. So that's a big shift and a sea change. And by the way, you can go to GitHub right now as an attacker. It's $100, a phishing kit. It'll teach you what to do, and you can immediately launch that attack. It's going to come from a trusted source. So that's point one. I think point two, what we constantly look at preemptive techniques that these bad actors are trying to use. So as an example, you'll see CAPTCHA pages. You'll see different, they know, as an example, if you're using a legitimate IP. So basically, they try to spoof the IP. So behind the scenes, we adapt. We use residential proxies as an example, so they cannot tell exactly what's resolving. The other thing that we see of late is that attack may resolve for you, but it may not resolve for Nick. So there's basically geolocation type of aspects that are occurring. So very, very sophisticated in terms of their attack patterns. And the final thing I would note, I think we've dramatically seen this increase in shift of using not just link-based approach, but I mentioned these files, HTML files as an example. You may have seen these voicemails, and it behind the scenes, obviously that's meant to phish you, but also these natural language attacks. I've mentioned this SMS piece. Call this. You may have. I don't know if anyone's gotten this. Call the IRS immediately because you're getting audited. They're all playing off fear and emotion.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're well. Yeah.
So those are the shifts that we've seen.
Is it? Let me ask you, with understanding those shifts, or maybe something new that you've seen. How have you had to adapt your training? Like, or do you put out like alerts? Like you're seeing behavior. Like if you see an email saying call the IRS, don't click on it. Like, do you have like just-in-time awareness alerts, Nick?
We do. We have, so we have internal communications, that maybe we'll post on the intranet locally, with the internal to Baker Tilly, or we might send an email out if it's something that's really, cropping up we're getting a lot of feedback on. So we will, but I mean, there is kind of a line where you can't overwhelm they already have all these messages coming to them all day long, not just about security, right? And so one thing that we've, looked at, and obviously Next does this, there's some other tools out there too, but, investing in tools that can really look at the heuristics of messages, before they actually make it to the user's mailbox. So you're looking at, in the use case he was talking about with the geo location, you could say, show me the, if this person emailed you from, let's just say Ukraine, and you've never gotten an email from them before, or maybe you did last time they emailed you, they were in Texas. Well, this clearly is a problem, right? And raise the score on that. And there's a lot of things that can go into pulling messages that are, simply just not supposed to be going where they should. So it's hard to adjust with, a large audience, because again, you don't want to, also lead with fear internally from a security perspective. You're already getting that from the outside. The other thing that we've done too is relied on larger sources. So for example, the IRS, they post bulletins of taxpayer information that says, hey, if you ever get an email from the IRS saying this, and that, it is not from us. So there are some times we'll send those out to clients on a newsletter, or we might just send to the internal team as well, so that people can see from the actual source, the IRS. This is what they say about that.
Oh, good point. Yeah, and I know the IRS, well, they don't email you, the IRS, at all, I don't think. Do they? Never. They never email.
I think they're still taking faxes.
Yeah, I know. You know what? That's the thing. Fax machines will stay around solely for the IRS.
Oh,
Nobody else.
Bane of my existence. Yep.
So, by the way, please, everybody, go in and start voting. If you haven't voted, please do. And there's some people answered that isn't actually the question. The prompt, remember, is what not to say from how not to respond to a phishing attempt. And there are some very good ones in there that have not been voted at all. So please get in there and vote. It's Scott Howard, who is from Baker Tilly, who I work with. He says the IRS loves faxes. Yes, they do. Unlike everybody else. Yeah. We don't like it. All right, we got some more questions coming in, and we're just a few more minutes from our next game. This is a pretty good question from Phil Wolf, and I don't know if this is something that's in /next realm. I'm guessing not, but I'll throw it to both of you. Where is the line where phishing an overwhelm becomes like a DDoS-like attack? I don't know. Just getting a lot of phishes really can damage your sort of traffic of your network. Can it, Nick? Can it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
if you're getting... Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if your, Exchange servers are getting pummeled with, messages going out. I mean, the thing is, it's not as common because generally speaking, Microsoft, whoever your mail provider, will see that as, I don't know if they'll tag it as DDoS, but they'll definitely see an influx and say, okay, there's no way that Baker Tilly wants to receive 5,000 emails sent at the exact same time with the exact same subject to everybody in the organization, right? So there is some logic at the mail, carrier level, but I'm not sure, Patrick, if you guys see anything else.
Yeah, I don't know if it 100% rides to the classic DDoS where it's going to effectively take down the network. Like experienced one of those in a former life. But what we do see, let's pick one of those most recent examples of that data breach where on the smishing side, it was repetitive and there was bombardment across the employee base until they actually hooked that one particular individual. And then they continued to bombard. I think there was 23 separate text messages that effectively gained that trust. So I'm going to put that on a subset of a DDoS, much more on a micro scale here. The only thing I would note, they go back to some of these trends. We are starting to see some phishing attempts that once effectively, as an example, in the browser, they start doing C2 callbacks, which is a click. So you can see some generating of network traffic outbound once that phishing attack occurs. Again, I know this is related to DDoS, but again, I haven't personally seen where it's a massive type of aspect that's going to take the network down.
Well, Russ pointed out in the chat, which is actually a really good point. He's talking about the human DDoS, meaning that people are getting fatigued, overwhelmed, and confused with all these messages that they're getting. That's real, right? Because it is,
absolutely.
If you're getting so many different, phishing attempts every single day to your personal email, your work email, your spouse is getting them and asking you if it's legitimate. I mean, that's a lot to take in, right? I mean, I don't know how many other security professionals on this right now are, rolling their eyes at the amount of times their mom or dad send them an email and say, "Is this legit? Should I type in my credit card?" Or
I've got that plenty of times, but honestly, Nick, as much as that is annoying to all of us, with the clueless parents, we are much happier they're doing that than actually clicking the damn thing. Because I had a situation with my mom got one of those calls saying, "Oh, we're seeing bad traffic. You need to download this." And then my mom realized what she did after the fact and called me, and I go, "Well, I guess we're going to have to destroy that computer."
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, my grandma got a call from somebody saying that it was your grandson and I'm in jail and I need you to wire me, $5,000 to get out. Same thing happened to my mother-in-law and her son as well. Similar story. Yeah, my grandma was smart, though. She said, "Well, when's your birthday, honey?" And then click.
Yeah.
Well, here's the weird thing. It was someone called saying that the son was in Spain, and she didn't know her son was in Spain. And so she actually got in the car and started to drive to Western Union, only to see her son driving the other direction on the road. And she's like, wait a second, I thought you were in Spain. So it was just fortuitous that she happened to see him on her. All right, we got a game.
Oh no, that totally sucks.
All right. So, Patrick, the way this works is you picked worse than Nick. So you're going to actually have to pick 4 of these items where Nick will only need to pick 3 of them. And so what it is we have a board here. There are 12 items on this board, and 11 of them are things you do not want. One of them is something good, though. I should mention that. One is actually good. So you want to pick the one, and they're varying degrees of bad. I should point that. When it is done, we'll see all the things that are in your environment, all the things that are in Nick's environment, and the audience will then vote for who has the worst environment. All right. So with that being said, I will have you start, Patrick. Pick a number 1 through 12.
Going 2.
Going to 2. Number 2 is customer database is exposed by a phishing attack. All right. You picked a pretty bad one to start with.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, you pick one.
I'll take number 1.
Oh, and remind me who's red and blue, Aaron. Number 1. You're going with number 1. All right, I'm gonna here we go. Oh, I've done this before. I was clicking in the wrong area. Hold on. We're gonna do this again. Nick is blue. Okay. Let me go back to doing this. All right. My apologies for my delay. Technical error by the user. So, Patrick, you are red, so I'm clicking the red, and you are going 1. Your defense systems consist of a firewall, and that's about it. All right. All right. Also not so good either. But then again,
Not so
Patrick's already
good, not
been
so
attacked.
bad.
Yeah, so you technically haven't been attacked yet, but it's a matter of time. All right, Patrick,
Yeah.
pick another one.
7.
7, you go with 7, and that is your staff consistently fails phishing tests. Not good either. All right, Patrick, pick one. There is one good one here.
So I'm going again, or is Nick going?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did I say Patrick? I'm sorry, Nick. Nick,
Yeah.
you go next.
I'll take 12.
Number 12.
This is the good one. This is the
Let's
really
see.
good one.
An adversary has gained access to your EDR product. Oh, not good. Not a
Not
good
good at all.
one. Patrick, you pick one.
4.
4 for Patrick. And every day a C-level exec asks, how secure are we? All right, well, that's not bad. It's just annoying, I think, to tell you the honest truth. So it's not that
I'll
awful.
take 5.
You're going with 5. Oops, here we go. Fully decemmed fishes have been sent to customers in your marketing list. Not good.
Oh my gosh.
Not good. All right. So you've picked your 3. You have to pick one more extra. There is a good one there, Patrick. Pick one more.
6.
6. All right. Hold on a second. Whoops. 6. Here we go. Against your advice, your company pays off a cyber ransom. Well, also not good as well. All right. So let's see. Let's review. Put up the poll, just the poll of Nick and Patrick. Patrick is red. Nick is blue. Patrick has the customer database is exposed by a phishing attack. Every day, C-level exec asks how secure we are. Not that bad. Against your advice, they pay off a cyber ransom, and your staff consistently fails phishing tests. So the worst is that your database was exposed by a phishing attack. Now, Nick, on the other hand, has your defense systems is just a firewall. Not good. Fully decimmed fishes have been sent to customers in your marketing list, and an adversary has gained access to your EDR product. It's kind of even here. I don't know who's going to win in terms of who has the worst environment. So you want to vote. Let me remind you, vote on who has the worst environment. Nick, you're pulling it out right now. 7-2. I'm going to give a 10-second countdown here. Please vote. 10, 9, 8. Everyone thinks your environment's way worse, Nick. 7, 6, 5. There are a lot more people than are voting right now, so please get in there and vote. 4, 3. I bet you your coworker Scott is voting for you. 2, 1, 0. And Nick wins 17-6. Nick wins/loses Sorry, your environment's worse, Nick. All right, that's it for that game. All right, let's get to our questions from our audience. Maybe we have some good questions for the. I don't know, Karen. I don't even know what this is. Karen Meyer Arendt asks a question: is Virus Total a reliable way to vet questionable URLs? Do you know about Virus Total, either of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what do you think of this?
The only time we use it is more for malicious file hashes. I mean, URLs you can stick in there, but the problem with Virus Total is it's voted on. So it's only as good as, what known. And when I say voted, it actually is taking a poll of the different, McAfee and all the different antivirus players, what they designate the URL as, or the file hash. So, if they haven't seen it, it's not going to come up and say it's malicious. That to me is the problem. So I don't think it's reliable.
Yeah. So to build on that, we just did 185,000 seed email protection replacement of a SEG environment. And 83% of the attacks that we found did not show up on Virus Total for 48 hours.
Oh, really?
So
wow.
I think so. Bottom line, and this is where we really pride ourselves in finding these what we call 0-hour attacks, because these phishing attacks live for 24 hours, 48 hours, and then they change. They'll put a sublink. And so it's not something that's going to be reported in real time back to a Virus Total. So I definitely would not rely on that solely as your quote Bible.
No, but I mean, is it worth it as a
line
of defense?
It is definitely worth it more from a, I guess you can use it in your instant response basis, where I can find it more after the fact, and then I can see if it's still infected. But again, these phishers have become very, very wise, as I said, because they have automation tools. They've got the kits that I was highlighting, and they're using these, again, nested services, trusted services. So when they launch it, as I said, it'll live 24 or 48 hours. If it's not caught at that time, it doesn't matter. It dies. They move to the next one. And so what you're going to find on Virus Total is typically, and we constantly look at this, it'll be maybe at day 2, a second vendor will find it. Day 3, a third, and a fourth, and a fifth vendor will find it. So eventually everyone finds this stuff. But again, it's more going to be a historical record for you, not necessarily something you use proactively in your environment.
All right. Very good point. All right. We are just a few minutes from our next game, actually. And I just want to remind, and also a couple of minutes before we put up our next poll, which is, can we actually throw back the, it is there. I'm sorry. The bad idea poll is still there. And a lot of you still have not voted. Get on it, please. I may not pick the top voted ones, just I'm warning you all. So I'm kind of maybe leaning towards some others here. But please get your votes in for the best bad idea. And also, if you've got any more good tips, how many good tips have we gotten in? 3 minutes to next poll. Aaron, please let me know how many of the 10% tips we have, because we want more. And as I have always given our audience crap about, they always have more bad ideas than they have good ideas. I don't think we've ever had a time, even that we've had 50% of good ideas in the ratio to bad ideas. We have about, not bad. Wait a second. We have 10 good ideas. We never get 10 good ideas. Kudos to our audience. Way to go.
It's probably Scott Howard putting all these good ideas in.
Is he? All right, Scott. Hopefully he has. All right. So let's just go to our next game. What the heck? We just got a call that just came in.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
All right, so these are, I have to see, Brian Colt has a lot of popular ones in there. Yeah, actually, I think both of these, the most voted up ones, are from Brian Colt. But I'm gonna take only one from Brian, and I'm gonna take one from somebody else here. And so the way this works, the Department of Yes, is I will tell you the bad idea. I'm gonna start with you, Patrick, on this, and you have to explain to me why you actually want to do this. So here we go.
The hot seat here, right?
Yeah. Well, but I'm starting with you, Patrick. Nick has to answer as well.
There you go.
you want to forward the fish to your entire address book, adding, quote, "Have you seen this?" to the body of the text. Why do you want to do that?
I'm going to do that because I want to actually teach the company to learn what a bad fish looks like.
Yeah, a true honest fish. Yeah.
A true honest fish.
Yeah, that's not one you made up. That's a legit fish. What do you think, Nick?
I mean, I was going to say something cheeky and say, let's all go on this free vacation together, but that's not a good answer. Let's see.
Although, but that'd be, you know what? That'd be doubling down on the fish. This is the way I see it.
That's
you
right.
get the
We're
fish, and the fish is enticing you to do something, and then you're doubling on the enticing, actually adding legitimacy to the fish, making it,
Wrong
if
way.
they can do this because they see something from a legitimate email, yours, and the thing, will they really do it? So that'd be the ultimate test to your staff, yes?
That would be, that would be the ultimate. But also, I guess I would say, similar to what Patrick said, if you're sending it out to everybody, you will get, at the end of it, you'll get to see how you fall on the bell curve of people who fall for it or not. Get some good metrics out of it.
Hooray! Good answer for both of you. All right,
Good
here
metrics.
comes the second one. All right, Lee. Well, no, here I'm going to take that. That was Brian Colt. You know what? I take it back. Because he was just so voted up. Both of these are from Brian Colt. Kudos to Brian Colt with these great bad ideas. All right, we're going to start with you, Nick, on this one. Tell the fisher you don't have access to execute a wire transfer and give them your controller's name, email address, and phone number. Why do you want to do that?
Our controller is actually one of our best performers in the security awareness trainings and phishing. So they'll know that this is not a legitimate request. So go ahead.
They're unflappable. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, exactly. It's the best of the best.
All right. Sir, yes, sir. Patrick, why do you want to do this?
Well, remember before I said the 3 Ps, people, process, and product?
Yeah.
Well, this is I'm going to, we're going to give them that information because that controller is part of the process, meaning they have to call that person to actually get verified that this is actually legitimate.
So it's essentially a level 2 phishing test, if you will.
It's a level 2 phishing test, and I encourage everyone out there to do that. Make sure put process controls in place as well.
There you go, because we haven't been talking about process controls as well.
No.
And that's actually very good. And by the way, kudos to both of you. You both played Department of Yes very well. Excellent. And do we have our poll live for the 10% tips? We do have our poll, and nobody's voted yet. So get in there and vote. And by the way, kudos to Brian Colt for those spectacularly bad ideas, and kudos to the two of you for playing Department of Yes so darn well. Good job. All right, let's talk. We have not talked about process. The best, actually, one of our reporters, Steve Prentice, wrote this great book, of which, unfortunately, the title is eluding me, but he talked about this concept, what he referred to as gap. And I've heard it described many different ways, but the whole idea is if something looks really real, but you don't want to click on it, but you want to see if it is real, the quote gap it of don't react to the thing directly, meaning click on the link or hit reply or whatever, but use the information you have, essentially create the gap, and then call, verify like that, the process. That seems like the best technique. How do you describe it, Patrick? Is there something else, or is there another sort of process check technique you suggest?
Yeah, I'm actually going to just quickly dive into one very, very unique type of phishing aspect and exploit. We'll leave the names behind the scenes here to protect the innocent. But effectively what happened is this HR department got phished and basically said, I need you to redirect half this this employee's salary to this particular bank account. And really, you would never actually imagine this because this person is head of a very, very large company. And interestingly enough, they got the HR person to actually participate in the attack. They ended up changing the banking and the routing information to literally send half the salary to whoever it was going to. Now, it took about 10 months to finally realize that was happening. Now you can say that person was living by very small means, and then finally realized. But what this pointed out was, number one, and don't rely on, again, just training. We've said that.
Yeah. Well, you
Number
can't
two,
you can't train to perfection. It can't be done.
number two, put technical controls in place. I can't stress enough the importance of that, because that obviously would have prevented that from happening. But third, to the process front, it's very important, and particularly in financial transactions, as an example, do an out-of-band verification to literally use a phone call as an example.
Right. Out of band,
you
gap
need-
it out of band. Yes.
You need to gap that out of band. You cannot rely solely on, again, training, even the AI controls. Use that third augmentation of the process to put that out of band verification in place. Again, nothing's foolproof, but that will give you a much better sense of kind of security for that type of attack.
I got to assume, Nick, that at Baker Tilly, everybody knows about doing an out-of-band verification. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But kind of what Patrick said, it's like we're relying on the technical controls, not just people nodding their heads and clicking through our security awareness trainings, right? I mean, if you were to ask any individual person, would they say, yes, I know, how to do that, what I'm looking for? They would say yes, but in reality, we all know that it's not, not a perfect science for the end users. So one big thing that we've done too, to kind of add on to what Patrick said, is if we send out phishing assessments and people fail, we reset their passwords right then and there. We treat it as if it was a real phishing attempt, because one, we're training them that, touching the oven, it's hot, you're burning your hand, right? There's putting skin in the game versus, just emailing people after the fact and said, hey, you failed, please don't fail. Here's, look for this, look for that.
You want them to experience what happens in this kind of a situation.
Exactly. So we treat it as real. And honestly, that's been really great, because it is, a pain to change your password and have to log into all these different things again. And, so that's, we found some good success there.
But how do you, in this, I was just at a conference yesterday and this came up. How do you balance the, we treat it like a real fish, but at the same time go, this is just a learning experience. Like, you're not being scolded to management. You're not going to get in trouble. Like, how do you make sure that they're okay, like, quote, emotionally and professionally like that?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we don't really. So we have sort of there's 3 or 4 steps to this process for us. So the first one that you get, and you fail, your password reset, we send you training, we break down why the phishing, test that you clicked was, not good. And then we send the exact same phishing email that you clicked on previously. We send it to you a week in another week, right? So the same exact one. And then if they click that again, that's 2 for 2, and you click the same message. So at that point, reset their passwords again. And we actually tell their performance counselor, their coach basically, or their boss, whoever that person is, and said, hey, twice in a row now, this person's clicked the same exact email, reset their password twice, you should be aware. And then the third time, it's the same email 3 times in a row. The third time, you get a notice going to HR, because ultimately what we're saying is, we have security policies and you're being willfully negligent. This is the exact same email. It's the exact same text, everything. And we've never had to do that, thankfully. Usually by the second one, most people, the first is enough, right? I've reset my password. I'm going to be a lot more careful, and you can't fool me, a second time. But if there have been a few people that have failed it a second time, and, we've had the conversation with their boss, but nobody's gotten a write-up yet. So knock on wood.
See, I was just going to add, I do think you have to be careful to quote the negative shaming part of this aspect. And the reason why I was highlighting before, yes, you want to use security awareness training, but use those technical controls as well. And as I mentioned before, what we do that live reinforced training. So when someone does click on something, even if it's in the phishing simulation, we're going to say, hey, this is a credential harvesting. Be careful. We're going to actually show them the attack, show them what it does, we're attempting to do. Almost through that live reinforced aspect is where you get the behavior you're going to want, as opposed to just continually try to do security awareness training aspects with them.
Can you dig into that a little bit? Like, I find that very intriguing, because a lot of people don't understand what actually goes down when they click that link. Like, how much do you present to them and show them, like, if you click this, because you clicked the link with the phishing test, but this is what would have happened had it been real. Like, what do they see at that point? Because that I think might be a big wake up call for a lot of people.
So we and this is customizable, but you put up a big giant red screen. It said, "Hey, this is Danger Will Robinson." But most importantly, what we do is we'll actually show a safe preview of that lower page, or exactly what it looks like. And second, we'll explain what that effectively attacker was trying to do. So as an example, this is credential harvesting. Even though it looks like a Microsoft 365 login page, we'll point out what's unique, what's different about this, and exactly what they're attempting to do. So through that process, and there's 10 different threat types, we'll actually effectively tell people if they're trying to get you to download software, they're trying to steal your password, they're trying to effectively participate in a social engineering test, a support scam. Again, many different type of attacks. But what we find in that context, again, is significant statistical reduction in those quote click-through rates in their environment. So much so, we actually had a customer had a live pen test, and part of the pen test was phishing simulation. It was the first time in history not a single person in that company clicked on the phishing simulations. Now, you go behind the scenes, there were a few that actually clicked on it, but that combination of training in concert with the technical controls and live reinforced training is what prevented that from actually, from the outside view, looking like anything happened.
Yeah, one thing I would just add there too, stories are really powerful with people, right? I mean, people cling to stories. I mean, when you share with them, and what we'll do often is, if we're sending out a training or if it's a remedial training and we're actually doing one-on-one with these people, we will share with them stories about why this is bad. Because a lot of people don't understand the value of their credentials, right? They think, who am I? I'm just I just prepare tax returns at my company. What do they want from me? They could get my credentials, and they don't understand where that actually goes. But also, a lot of people disconnect their personal information from them at work. So a good example of this, we had somebody a while ago who got a service email from, like a LifeLock of sorts, right? Where it's your identity monitoring. They got it to their personal email. Well, they thought it was legitimate. They called the number. They ended up logging in and letting these people into their computer and then sending like a good amount of money, several $1,000s to these people, inadvertently thinking that they were doing something with their account, right? So, and then at the end of it, they drop off the computer. This person's out of money. I mean, that's a real story. And people just don't see that connection between the email I get and then something bad happening, or they think that can't happen to me, right? So
yeah, well,
story time.
It's that thing of I'm who would want from me? I'm a nobody. I want to just reference some of the nice good tips we've had. The one that's voted up the most is essentially what we've been talking about the whole time, Patrick, here, and this comes from Russ Harland, who said instill the concept that no email, and I'm going to say no message, no matter the source, context, or delivery message, which you said is safe by default, which is, I would say that is the theme of today's show is there is no, quote, safe delivery platform. But I want to ask a quick question. What have you seen to be, I guess, the toughest platform to compromise, both of you? What have you seen? Like probably has the least amount of phishing going on, although you've seen even the most trusted sources. You were even saying PayPal has it within the platform as well. Where are you seeing the least amount?
Yeah, to me, it's actually Signal, right? Because it's
really
end-to-end encrypted all the way, and then the message deletes after a certain amount of time. So ultimately, I mean, and that's not a perfect situation, right? But it's
I have Signal, and I get phished on Signal plenty. So.
You get fished on Signal?
Yeah, I get fished on. Well, no, because I allow for regular SMSs to come through.
Oh, okay.
That's that's.
I think on this one, the only surefire way you can actually say I'm not going to get fished in a particular messaging channel is if it's completely closed, right? That means you've got no external sources that can interact with the internal side of the equation.
But Slack might be the closest to that because What?
No. So what I was going to point out, Slack is now opened up, right?
Really?
Many folks out there use it for customer communication, right? External channels. In fact, if you go back and look at Electronic Arts, got actually hacked through a Slack channel. So bottom line, again, it only takes one, right? It can be that one fish, even though it's maybe 5 that go through Slack or whatever. Everywhere it's open, you're going to get that opportunity to have a fisher come in and attack you. So
All right.
this is kind of a technical term. I always like to say, don't trust shit, verify everything. It is extremely important to do that and use not just training, but those augmented controls.
The people, process, technology.
Yeah.
All right. I need to wrap this up, but here I'm going to quickly wrap up, and then we're going to get final thoughts from both of you, just a minute each, and then we're going to go to our chat. Everyone, right now, click the link at the bottom of the screen because that's going to change in seconds. That is our 30th anniversary show, which is next Friday, and we want you all to come to that. So please come to our 30th, come to the 30th to our 4th anniversary, not our 30th anniversary, our 4th anniversary, and it's going to be a lot of fun. 15 guests, all the hosts, reporters, editors, and producers will be there. All right. Now, Aaron, you can change that link. Whoops. I mentioned register early. Thank you to your company, Patrick, SlashNext, for sponsoring this very event. If any of the SlashNext employees are watching, if there's anything that you want to point us to, obviously go to slashnext.com, but please point us to any specific link as well. All right, starting in 90 minutes from now, or really 95 minutes, Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review. We have Joseph Lewis, the Director of Cyber Assessment Strategy, U.S. Department of Energy. We'll be going over the 8 biggest stories in cybersecurity news this week. Please stick around for that. That is on our CSO Series YouTube channel. So just go youtube.com/CSO Series. You can find it. Or go to CSOSeries.com and click the YouTube at the top. Or go to our events page and click it there. Lots of different ways to figure this out. Stick around for our meetup. Right now, you click that link at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead and click it. And we're all going to go jump over there. That's going to be Toucan. We're going to do that in less than 4 minutes and participate in that. Tell your friends to join us. We do this every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And you want to sponsor Super Cyber Friday? Just email me, david@csoseries.com. We have 5 left in 2022. So please ping me and we'll get you that. All right. Let's hear it from you, Patrick. Any last thoughts on this? Any pitch for any pitch you would like to make for SlashNext? Let us know.
Yeah. Number one, we actually talked a little bit about this before, where your grandparents, your parents, your kids are all getting phished. There's a reason why we actually came out with a home version of the app.
Cool.
And so just encourage everyone and take a look at that. You can put it on up to 5 devices, and it really is meant to get you out of the IT game and help your family stay secure.
I did not know you had a home version. That's awesome.
We do. Yeah, it's on the App Store.
And by the way, one of the things we hear again and again and again is you get your employees to care about security. You make it personal. So that might be the good starting point.
Yeah.
The home version.
And what I was going to say, second to this, one of my CISO friends become a large customer of ours. They actually helped us build that app. And the reason for that, to this very point, because they saw a lot of the personal attacks evading the corporate attacks. And so this provides that ultimate guaranteed trust. A lot of people don't want to put anything on their own personal device and connect into the corporate network. In fact, you'll get a lot of pushback on that. So this kind of gives that balance of both worlds. It protects the personal life and also helps protect the business life. So
Monty wants to know, what is the name of the home version app?
So it's just /6 Mobile Security Home, and it's on the App Store, both iOS and Android.
Okay, so just I'm assuming if you just search /Next, you'll probably find it. All right.
Yeah, it's right on the homepage.
Good tip.
Yep, and the second thing, just leave everyone in the audience. I've said this kind of repetitively here. Really make sure don't just rely on training. Really add those things in, because one just quick story. I actually talked to one of those companies that was in the headlines 6 months ago on an SMS, and they literally said, no one will we can never get compromised that way. And that's why I said right at the outset, smishing is be careful, put those controls in place, because if it can happen, it will happen. Bottom line. And I'm a big believer in shifting from a reactive security to proactive security posture. If you do that, your life is a hell of a lot easier. It's never going to be easy sitting in a CISO shoe. I actually don't necessarily envy everyone out there who has to deal with all the stuff that goes on, but that is very important, I think, to kind of shift from that reactive to proactive state.
Excellent. All right. We have less than a minute left, 30 seconds. Nick, the question I always ask is, are you hiring? And now I'm getting backlit. But are you hiring? And any last thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, we're always hiring. If you go to the bakertilly.com webpage, you can find the career section, a lot of jobs there.
And if they mention they saw you here, that helps.
They might get,
But you're gonna join us in the meetup, so anyone who wants to join can chat with Nick.
There you go.
With Patrick,
last thing I would say is, I think Patrick said it perfect. People, process, product. I mean, you can't be overly reliant on one. You need everything, and don't just put all your eggs in the technology basket. I see a lot of security professionals just relying on the technology. That's not enough. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you very much, Nick. And thank you, Baker Tilly, for letting me use their offices. I'll put a plug in for Baker Tilly. They've been a phenomenal accounting firm. I enjoy working with them. Thank you. All right. Click the link at the bottom of the screen, everybody. Join us over in the meetup on Toucan. Goodbye.